Years ago, American soldiers joked that their bread would outlast a war. It was called hardtack, and it was a simple mixture of flour, water, and salt baked until it was hard enough to withstand rain, heat, and years of storage. Some pieces were so tough that soldiers claimed they could stop a bullet. Others joked that if the enemy didn't kill you, the bread might. Hardtack wasn't eaten for pleasure. It was soaked in water, coffee, or grease just to make it chewable. Sometimes it crawled with weevils, and soldiers would tap on it with their rifle butts to knock the bugs out before eating. No one mistook hardtack for punishment. It was survival food for people doing hard work in dangerous times. No soldier wrote home asking for softer bread if it meant losing the fight. They accepted the hard bread because they were committed to a greater purpose. It was a matter of mission. Greetings, Patriots. I'm Perry Green, and this is God in America, where we reconnect God in America by telling of His hand in our history. When a nation remembers God, freedom has a future. He often uses simple things to teach us His eternal truths. Bread becomes a reminder of deliverance or a warning of judgment. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, which is the house of bread. He compared himself to God's life-giving bread in John chapter 6. Today, we want to compare two biblical breads, one eaten on the road to freedom, the other on the brink of collapse. The prophet Ezekiel was commanded to live out God's warning to rebellious Israel. In Ezekiel 4, verse 9, God told him to bake bread from a mixture of wheat, barley, beans, lentil, millet, and spelt. Everything went into one vessel. This was not variety, it was desperation. It symbolized siege, scarcity, and the coming exile. This bread said, "You ignored God in abundance, now you will learn dependence in your loss." For 390 days, Ezekiel ate his bread in measured portions, just enough to survive. It stripped eating of pleasure and turned it into instruction. This loaf was about warning, not about remembrance. Israel would be punished for 390 years. Judah also faced punishment for its neglect. Now contrast that with the unleavened bread of Passover. On the night of deliverance, God told Israel to bake bread without yeast. There would be no time to wait for it to rise. Judgment was passing through Egypt, and they were to feel the urgency of their rescue at hand. Under Moses' leadership, the people ate quickly and dressed to leave. Its taste was plain, dry, and simple, a reminder of deliverance and obedience. Unleavened bread was not bitter because of scarcity, it was plain because of necessity. It reminded Israel that salvation comes by God's hand, not human preparation. Later, God commanded that this bread be eaten yearly as a memorial of freedom. In his last Passover supper, Jesus used it to commemorate his body in the Lord's Supper and the freedom he brings. Ezekiel's bread was eaten because the people refused to listen. Passover bread was eaten because the people obeyed. One bread pointed forward to loss, the other pointed to liberation. One said, "This is what rebellion produces." The other said, "This is what obedience receives." Both lacked luxury, but only one lacked hope. God does not always change the menu, but He always explains the meaning. America has known both breads. We have tasted the plain bread of sacrifice at Valley Forge in wartime rationing in generations that understood restraint and duty. And at times, as today, we've drifted toward Ezekiel's loaf, ignoring God, stretching truth, mixing convictions, rationing virtue, assuming freedom will last regardless of our obedience. History teaches that when remembrance fades, discipline follows. Here are some lessons from these two breads. First, not all hardship means judgment, and not all simplicity means loss. Sometimes God is preparing for deliverance. Second, when God's word is remembered, discipline leads to freedom. When it is ignored, discipline leads to correction. Third, God often teaches nations the same way He teaches individuals through daily provision. Bread reveals whether people are listening. One bread was eaten standing, ready to walk into freedom. The other was eaten while lying still, a warning of change to come. The difference was not the ingredients, it was the response to God. In both cases, God continued His provisions, each with a different purpose. At your next meal, pause before eating and spend 2 minutes reflecting on God's provision in your life. Ask yourself, Am I living more like someone remembering God's deliverance or someone ignoring his warnings? Then identify one area where obedience has become delayed, neglected, or compromised and take one concrete step to correct it. Let your daily bread become a reminder of both gratitude and faithfulness. As always, my fellow patriots, thanks for being with us. Until next time, let's keep the light of remembrance and obedience burning.